beneficial to all of us.
So I want to thank you for the invitation. It's always a pleasure to participate into your initiative. You have a lot of energy and thought, and I really hope to give you a good insight in grant writing and in Horizon Europe. Just confirm me that you see the presentation on my screen.
Yes, we can see that. Thank you.
Okay, great. So I've been asked to present briefly, Horizon Europe and the basic do's and don'ts of grant writing. In one hour and a half, it's really a challenge, but I will try to do my best. Anyway, there will be, I will provide you all the slides. I will send you the slides. There is inside a lot of information that maybe we will not be able to look deeper into. But of course, at the end, you will have all the materials. At the end, there are also some other backbone materials that you can consult. And of course, my contents if you want additional information. For any question, do not, you can interrupt me or ask a question in the chat. So we can start if it's okay. So just I present briefly myself, because just to tell you that I have a background in economics and management, so I'm not a physician, I'm not a psychologist, I'm not a, so sometimes for me it's difficult really to deal with researchers, because sometimes we don't really talk the same languages. But who works in grant writing has to be very flexible and have a very open mind, and really needed to find a common ground to work with the grant writers. And just to give you a little bit of my background, I worked at the European Commission under the European Social Fund, and especially at the European Research Council as the executive agency. So I have some knowledge on the ERC grants. And then I moved to the Catholic University. The Catholic University in Italy is widespread all over the countries, and I work in Rome, where we have just the Faculty of Medicine and of the Health Economics. And I also work for the Gemelli Hospital, which is a very big hospital in Rome, but also, one of the biggest in Italy. And it's, I would say, a very challenging environment. So let's start with the first topic, which is Horizon Europe. I don't know how many of you have already heard about Horizon Europe, and maybe you can also write in the chat or just tell me if you know the program already. And Horizon Europe is, of course, the new framework program for research in Europe, and it's following the 7 years of Horizon 2020. It has just been launched on the 1st of January. It will cover 7 years from 2021 to 2027 with a budget of 95.5 billion euro. The Horizon Europe program has 3 main objectives. The first one is to fuel scientific and technological excellence. The second one is to tackle policy priorities, including, I would say, mainly the green and digital transition, but also sustainable development goals. And to boost Europe's innovation and competitiveness. So we have 3 main areas that that covers the objectives of the program, but also the impacts we will see afterwards. So 3 main areas: science and technology, society, and economy. How the program was built. So it was born across 2 different commissions, because Commission von der Leyen started in 2019 has defined 6 main priorities that actually fed into the Horizon Europe program. The 6 priorities are the European Green Deal, a Europe fit for the digital age, an economy that works for people, a stronger Europe in the world, promoting our European way of life and a new push for European democracy. But of course, a lot of influence has been done by the previous commission, and in particular by the research commissioner, that was Moedas, and in particular by one of his main advisor, who was Melania Mazzucato, who wrote this fantastic report on mission-oriented research innovation in Europe. And the mission, the orientation mission, we will see afterwards, really has an impact in how the Horizon Europe program has been built. Of course, the budget allocation to Horizon Europe has been influenced, or anyway defined, by the multi-annual financial frameworks that cover the period for 2021 and 2027, and that was agreed by the Parliament and the Council in December. So that's why the program was launched on the 1st of January, but actually we have some delays. So some work programs have not all the work programs have been published yet, even if they have, I mean, they circulated across the research organization somehow. Okay, so Horizon Europe, you say it's really a continuation of Horizon 2020, even if there are some novelties that we will see in detail afterwards. This is the main structures of the program. The core part is the central one, and it covers three main pillars. Pillar one is the excellent science, and some of the main programs are the European Research Council, the Marie Sklodowska Action, and the research infrastructures. Across these two, we will, I have a quick focus on the ERC, the European Research Council, and on the Marie Sklodowska Action. The pillar two is covering the global challenges and European industrial competitiveness, and it's articulated and divided in 6 main clusters: the health cluster, the cultural, creativity and inclusive society, civil security for society, digital, industry and space, climate, energy and mobility, food bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture and environment. The pillar 3 is focused on innovative Europe. The main sub-programs here are the European Innovation Council, the European Innovation Ecosystems, and the European Innovation and Technology. We will focus here, we'll present briefly what the European Innovation Council is doing, because the European Innovation Council was launched actually under Horizon 2020, but it has been really boosting. It's now boosted by the Horizon Europe program. There are other minor, well, I would not say minor, but other sub-program inside. One is related to the widening participation and strengthening the European research area. And here we will see, for example, the COST program. And then we have the Euratom, which is, it's like a twin program with the Horizon Europe, but it's focused on nuclear security. And I don't think that is really interested in this for you. Okay, so just focus a little bit on Pillar 1. As mentioned, it has 3 main sub-programs: the European Research Council with a budget of 6 billion euro, and the Marie Curie Actions with a budget of 6.6 billion euro. And we will focus on these 2, but there is also the part regarding the research infrastructure. Okay, the European Research Council is a type of funding which wants to provide funding for frontier research. What we mean with frontier research? We mean the research that push the limit of the knowledge a little bit further. So it wants really to provide new avenues, new knowledge. It's not finalized to define a new therapy or to solve a specific problem. It's really to increase the knowledge in a specific field. The opportunity of funding here are 4. The first one is the starting grant, which is dedicated to researchers with from 2 to 7 years of experience from the PhD award, it provides a maximum budget of 1.5 million for maximum 5 years. The Consolidator grant is dedicated to researchers with from 7 to 12 years of experience from the PhD award, with a budget of 2 million for maximum 5 years. The advanced grants is dedicated to excellent researchers with relevant track record in the last 10 years. And the Synergy grant is actually the only one grant under ERC that requests a consortium. You can build a consortium of 2 to 4 PIs, principal investigator, with I would say expertise in different disciplines. So it must be a multidisciplinary project with a budget of maximum 10 million euro for a period of maximum 6 years. Just to give a little bit more information, especially on the starting grants. You can apply to the starting grants if you have at least a publication without your PhD supervisor. This is why, because you must demonstrate your potential research independence in the future. But you, of course, it's not sufficient, because you must demonstrate that you have a really rich CV, you have a really significant publication, you have been invited to conferences, and you have been awarded some grants, some prizes. Of course, you are competing with a researcher with your, with your same in your field and with your same experience. So you are not competing with a researcher with significant differences in career, but you must anyway have an outstanding curriculum for your career stage. This is just to give you information. It's quite an old slide, but still valid. Just to give you an idea of the age range of researcher applying to starting grants. The range is quite broad. It's from 23-year-old up to 50. But of course, the majority of researchers winning an ERC starting grants is around 32 to 38-year-old. Okay, let's move to the Marie Curie action. I know that some of you participated this morning to very interested workshop on how to write postdoctoral opportunities. And on postdoctoral opportunities, the Marie Curie are actions that are focused on, of course, on research excellence, but also on mobility of researcher and the career. They want to advance the career of researchers. The opportunities are different. So we have the doctoral networks, the postdoctoral fellowship, the staff exchange, and the Marie Sklodowska and citizens actions. The doctoral networks are aimed to create innovative networks that build together a joint doctorate course or with a double degree course, but they want to recruit doctoral candidates from countries different from the organization that are participating in the network. The Marie Sklodowska postdoctoral fellowship are aimed to provide funding to researcher with a PhD, so postdoctoral research, and they provide funding for their fellowship and a limited amount also for the research activities. The Marie Sklodowska Curie Staff Exchange wants to provide funding for organization, for network of organization that provide exchange of staff already recruited in the organization. So it's not meant to provide funding for new staff, but only for covering reimbursement of travel and subsistence of staff already working in your organization. And the Marie-Scolastica Cuore Action and Citizen are mainly aimed to fund the initiative, the European Researchers' Nights. Okay, now I will move to another pillar. I should move to pillar 2, but I want to leave the pillar 2 for afterwards, because I want to enter a little bit more in how it's built. So I will move first on the pillar 3, which is Innovative Europe. As said before, there are 3 main sub-programs: the European Innovation Council, the European Innovation Ecosystem, and the European Institute of Innovation and Technology, even if the European Institute has also an additional budget aside from Horizon Europe. We will focus here just on the European Innovation Council that supports innovation with breakthrough and market creating potential. In particular, the European Innovation Council has 3 main, wants to support innovation with breakthrough and disruptive nature, and scale up the research results up to the market, So they really want also to match the researcher with potential investors. The 3 main funding opportunities here are the Pathfinders, the Transition Grants, and the Accelerator Scheme. The Pathfinder scheme wants to find research grants, and in particular those projects that are covering the technology readiness level from 1 to 3. I don't know if you are familiar with the technology readiness level. Now I'll show you, but anyway, they want the Pathfinder schemes is aimed at funding projects that move from the idea to the proof of concept. The transition grants are gonna fund projects that move from the proof of concept to the pre-commercial phase. And the accelerator schemes wants to fund projects from the pre-commercial phase up to the market. As I was saying, you don't know, or if you know, we just remind them that in Horizon Europe, the technology readiness level concept is very used. As said, the Pathfinder scheme is funding projects from tier 0, which corresponds to the idea, to the TRL 3, to the apply research, so from up to the proof of concept. The transition scheme is providing funding from TRL 4, small scale prototype, up to a pre-commercial scale, so up to TRL 7. And the last, the acceleration scheme, is providing funding from TRL 8 to TRL 9. Okay, I hope it's clear. It's a little bit maybe complicated, but when you deal a little bit with the project, then you clearly understand that. But if you have questions, just let me know. Okay, before moving to the pillar 2, I just want to show you that there is also, as we said, the widening participation and strengthening the European research area, which include a lot of initiatives. But one of the most interesting is the European Cooperation in Science and Technologies, which is the COST action. COST action is an initiative that actually is as its birthday, the 50th birthday this year. And it's gonna provide funding to a network of researchers. It's providing funding individually to researchers for networking activities. So it's gonna fund meetings, workshops, short-term scientific missions. And when a COST action is launched by the COST action, any researcher across Europe can participate. The funding for the COST action is actually complemented by the national member states. So it is partly covered by the Commission. Actually, just the funding and the management of the action is covered by the Commission, but the action itself, the reimbursement to researcher for the networking activities is provided by the national member states. Okay, now let's move to the pillar 2. The pillar 2 is focused on global challenges and European industrial competitiveness. It is divided in 6 clusters. We have the clusters health, the culture, creativity, inclusive societies, the civil security for society, digital, industry and space, climate, energy and mobility, food bioeconomy, natural resources, agriculture and environment. The budget is allocated as here in the slide. As you can see, there is a lot of budget for cluster 4, digital industry space, and cluster 5, climate, energy and mobility. The reason is because these are 2 of the main priorities of the Commission von der Leyen, as we have seen before, and also because they include most of the project that request high technologies or costly technologies.
Y otros muchos que habría que concretar. Y en concreto, me gustaría que
There is a microphone open.
Me gustaría que pudiéramos aclarar el tema de la...
Yes, I'm trying to find out.
Okay.
And who is talking, because I want to mute everyone. Just...
Okay.
Me gustaría que pudiéramos hablar de este tema, que al parecer usted tiene más información.
Okay, as we have said before, okay, the budget for Pillar 2 includes not only, include also the budget for partnership and missions. So what are partnership and missions? We start from missions. As we've said before, the Horizon Europe has been influenced a lot by the mission orientation report by Melania Mazzucato. And that's why inside the pillar 2, we have also missions. So what are the missions? So the Commission has decided that European Union must focus on specific missions. Okay, and as defined 5 mission areas. One is adaptation to climate change, cancer mission, healthy oceans, seas, coastal and inland waters, climate neutral and smart cities, soil, health and food. And each of the mission has a board that has been set up in September 2020. And each mission board has proposed specific targets to be reached by by 2030. And each mission board will launch specific work programs with specific initiatives. So we will need to take care not only about the, I would say, the call for proposal, the work programs that will be launched under the Horizon Europe standards, but also we will need to take care of all the initiatives that will be launched by the mission boards, especially if you are interested in cancer, by the mission board cancers. And then we move to partnership. What are the partnerships? Partnerships, when we talk about partnership, we talk about the public-public partnership or public-private partnerships. Partnership in Horizon Europe are actually substituting the JPIs, the ERANETs, and all the Article 185 and 97 of the treaty that were launched under Horizon 2020. Just to give you a clear idea, there will be launched in under Horizon Europe in the next 2 years. There will be launched 49 European partnerships. They are not active yet because the funding for this innovative partnership, at least the funding provided by the Commission, is actually linked in the is provided via the work programs that are going to be published in the next weeks. So, for example, in the cluster 1 health, there will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. Sorry, I didn't remember the number. So 9 partnerships, for example, and this kind of partnerships are providing funding opportunities jointly, which are joint effort of the European Commission and of, for example, national member states or private organization. In particular, I want to talk a little bit more about the Innovative Health Initiative Partnership, the Transformation of Health Systems Partnership, the Era for Health, and the Personalized Medicine. These are partnerships that are partly, they were partly existing also in Horizon 2020. In particular, the Innovative Health Initiative is coming directly from the Innovative Medicine Initiative. The Innovative Medicine Initiative was is currently, but is finishing, is still active. Is providing funding to organizations for research funded by 50% by the European Commission and 50% by private contribution from FPA companies, so from pharmaceutical company. The Innovative Health Initiative is building on the results of the Innovative Medicine Initiative and will provide funding which will be joint effort of the European Commission and private company or association. It will not be limited now only to pharmaceutical companies, but also to any type of companies and any type of organization that wants to provide funding to innovative health projects. The Transformation of Health and Care System Partnership is actually built on several organizations, several other previous initiatives, in particular on the To Reach CSA, on the To Reach project, which was a project built specifically to create a program in Europe aimed to tackle the problem of health system sustainability. Another initiative that will be merged in the Transformation of Health and Care System Partnership is the AAL program, which was before providing funding for ambient assisted living solutions. And also the JPI, More Years, Better Life on demographic change will be merged in this partnership, as well as the European Innovation Partnership on Active and Healthy Aging, which was an innovative partnership that was putting together a lot of reference sites and experience in Europe on active and healthy aging to try to scale up best practice in active and healthy aging. The Era for Health partnership will merge all the ERANET and JPIs that were dealing with health research, in particular with the JPND, for example, on neurodegenerative disease, the Neuron ERANET, the ERA on cardiovascular disease, and the TransCanon on transnational research for cancer. The Personalized Medicine will move actually from the ICPERMED consortium, will move from the ERANET experience on personalized medicine to the partnership called Personalized Medicine. If you want to be updated on partnership, I suggest you to follow the ERALearn website, which is actually an initiative that was launched in Horizon 2020 to map all the funding opportunities provided by the JPIs, the Article 185 and 87 initiatives, and now are actually supporting the transformation from all the previous initiatives to the partnerships. Okay, now I just stop a little bit because I want to see if there are some questions. 1 second. Are there any questions?
I have one question. What would you recommend to someone who just completed his PhD or her PhD? Which grant trajectories do you think are the best to follow?
The ideal is to move from after the PhD, the ideal solution is to move from Marie Curie postdoctoral fellowship And then after the postdoctoral fellowship, try to, to move to the ERC starting grants. If you get, there are, several evidence in Europe that the researchers that get postdoctoral fellowships are then, they have more advantages in getting ERC starting grants. I don't know why. It's not a coincidence. It's because if you really start a career in excellence research, this is the main path. But if you are a young researcher, then I will show you even after this part, because I have a section specifically on how to look for the right opportunity. But you can also encourage your supervisor to apply to other funding opportunities, because, for example, you can then receive funding to create a doctoral network. So your research will be funded through other projects, other type of grants. And another very good opportunity is to try to enter in a cost action, because as I mentioned, cost actions are already, any researcher can ask to participate in the active cost actions. If you look at the cost action website, you will see there is, I think there are like 500 active cost action at the moment. And you can look at those that are mainly focused on in your field, and contact the coordinator and try to participate in the networking activities. And this is something that is absolutely feasible. You can, through the cost action, build a network to create new projects, because a lot of Horizon 2020 projects were actually built and were born inside the cost action, for example. I don't know if I have provided some useful insight. May I go on? Okay, so I go on, and we'll see afterwards if we have other questions. So I'll try to little bit go quicker, because otherwise we don't have enough time to see the second part. Okay, how Horizon Europe is implemented. Biannual and annual work program will be launched. In the next weeks, they will be finally launched the 2021-2022 work programs, and the work programs will be made up of 13 parts. Well, there will be an introduction specifying the objectives and the expected impact for all the specific cluster. There will be 11 parts covering each specific cluster, including the missions. And there will be a part with general annexes, which include information on the admissibility and eligibility criteria, as well as selection and award criteria. The key word for Horizon Europe is simplification, even if I don't really see a lot of simplification in Horizon Europe. But probably, as we live in a complex world, Horizon Europe reflects the complexity of the world. And it is requested to show a systemic approach toward impacts, and we will see what they mean. An open science approach is requested, meaning that you will be requested to publish in open access, and internationalization is recommended, and you also need to look for synergies with other European programs. Okay, in particular, okay. When we talk about the systemic approach towards impact, it means that in Horizon Europe and in the proposal that you will write, you will need to demonstrate how your project is contributed to reach the expected impact of the overall program. These are the three main impact areas, so scientific impact, societal impact, and economic impact, on which the Horizon Europe is built. And in your project, okay, you will have to demonstrate how the project results will contribute to the objectives set up in the policy priorities and in the key orientation strategies. Okay, the policy priorities are those that we have seen before, that have been presented by the Commission von der Leyen. In the Horizon Europe program, there are also a clear description of all the areas of intervention. For each cluster, there are specific area of intervention. For example, under the health cluster, the area of intervention are health throughout life course, non-communicable and rare diseases, tool technologies and digital solutions for healthcare, environmental and social health determinants, infectious disease, including poverty-related and legacy system, and healthcare systems. I'm not gonna enter into details in all these area of intervention, but you can, of course, get afterwards a deeper knowledge. And in all the in the strategic documents of Horizon Europe, there is also there are also this description of the key strategic orientation of the Horizon Europe program. And for example, we will need to demonstrate how the project will contribute to the key strategic orientation number 6, enhancing the health, the well-being of all citizens and tackling inequalities. At the work program level, each work program is describing specific destinations. For example, in cluster 1 work program, you will find description of 6 destinations. Destination 1, for example, is staying healthy in a rapidly changing society. Destination 2 is living and working in a health promoting environment. Destination 3 is tackling disease and reducing disease. The destination 4 is about sustainable and high quality of care. Destination 5 is on new tools and digital solution. And destination 6 is on innovative, sustainable and globally competitive health related industries. For each destination, a specific topics are then described. This is how the work programs are structured. So for each work program, you will have an introduction. You will have, for each destination, another introduction with a specific expected impact per destination, and then the list of topic for 2021, topics for 2022, with specific details on topics of 2022 with two-stage application process. Two-stage application process means that you will have a first deadline to present a pre-application, a first stage application, and then if you are selected, you then will be requested to present a full proposal in a second deadline. This is just to give you an example of one topic that is included, that will be included in the work program 2021-2022 under the health cluster. So in each topic, you will have a code, which is quite useful when you have to look for opportunities in the portal. There is the title. In this case, title is Healthy Citizens 2.0. And then you have information about the budget that you have to include, the budget for your project, for your specific project, the indicative budget of the overall topic, meaning that this is the total budget that the Commission has allocated to this specific topic. If, as in this case, the indicative budget is the same of the expected contribution per project, it means that the European Commission wants to find just one project under this topic. And the type of action is the type of activities that the Commission wants to fund. there are different types of activities. I will show you afterwards. Let me see where is, okay. Type of activities can be research and innovation action or innovation action based on the level of research activities included. The coordination and support actions are those activities that contribute to the implementation, to reach the objectives of the Horizon Europe program, and usually are more policy-oriented activities. Then we have the co-fund action. For example, these are mainly dedicated to provide funding to the partnerships, for example. Then the innovation and market deployment action are dedicated to European Innovation Council funding projects. The training and mobility in actions are those dedicated to the Marisa Cuore action. And then we have the pre-commercial procurement and the public procurement of innovative solutions that are mainly dedicated to launch, I would say, common tender under Horizon Europe, but I will not go into detail on that. Just to come back on the topic, for each topic you will have description of the expected outcome for this specific topic, and your project will have to try to reach. We need to reach all these expected outcome, and then the scope, which describe the activities that you have to include in your project. Okay. Of course, for each topic, you will have the clear deadline set up and what are the evaluation criteria that you need to, under which the proposal will be assessed. Okay, as said, Horizon Europe tried to simplify rules, but simplification is not really a simplification what they have presented, but anyway, there is that compared to Horizon 2020, I can tell you that the proposal have been shortened, and but the application system is more or less the same. And I have to tell that as you are, most of you are quite a young researcher, I can tell you that at the first sight, I mean, Horizon Europe and the portal and how the application seems complicated, but it's really something that after the first impression, you can really get used to it. And anyway, what I strongly suggest to all of you, if you want to deal with Horizon Europe, please, the first thing that you have to do is to go to the grant office of your organization, because most of the things that seems very complicated to you are very, very easy for your grant office. Okay, I will not enter into detail unless you want about the eligibility condition under Horizon Europe. In principle, remember that except for except for some Pillar 1 activities, most of the opportunities requires a consortium of at least three organizations from the 3 different member states or associated countries. Low and middle income countries can participate in the proposal and are also funded. Only in some cases, international organization can be funded under Horizon Europe. Okay, we have already seen. These are the funding. I mean, based on the type of activities, funding is provided. It can be 100% for research and innovation action. Innovation actions are funded at 70%, and then really based on the type of activities, you have a different funding rate. The evaluation criteria are for research innovation action and innovation actions are divided in 3 main areas: the excellence, the impact and the quality and the efficiency of the implementation. The excellence criteria includes the clarity and pertinence of the project objectives, the ambition and the capacity of the project to go beyond the state of the art. Of course, the soundness of the proposed methodology is assessed, as well as gender dimension and the open science practices included. Under the impact criteria, of course, you have to demonstrate the credibility of the pathway. So you really have to demonstrate clearly how the project contribute to the outcome and impacts of the topic and of the work program and of the Horizon Europe and of the strategic goals of the European Commission. And of course, you will be also assessed for the dissemination, exploitation, and communication activities that you are setting in your project. Under the quality and efficiency of the implementation, the work plan, the budget, and the consortium, how the consortium is built, will be assessed. Okay, the evaluation process is actually standard as in most of the evaluation process across the world, with an individual evaluation made by 3 experts that then will reach a consensus through creating one single evaluation. The evaluation will be assessed by a panel review, and then the results will be finalized. There will be probably some pilots on the evaluation process, because the European Commission wants to test if it's possible to include a rebuttal phase between the individual evaluation and the consensus group phase, to allow the PIs, the coordinators, to provide some clarification in their proposal. But this is there will be just some pilots. So the standard process will be this one. We have already said that the open science principle will be applied, mainly that you will be requested to publish the audio publication in open access, and you will be requested to include some to have data sharing as open as much as possible in your project. And international cooperation is possible, of course, and is also well seen and well evaluated. It is important to know that the Horizon Europe is not the only program in where you can find some opportunities in Europe. The Euro for Health project, the Euro for Health program, is also providing funding to mainly for health system and a solution. We have the Digital Europe managed by the DG Connect, and also the Erasmus Plus can also provide you some funding opportunities, because it's not just providing funding to move students, but also for some training and research activities. This is just a short focus on a EU4Health program, which is managed by DG Sante. And the objectives of the Euro for Health program is to tackling cross-border health threats, like the COVID-19 emergency, making medicine available and affordable, and strengthening health systems. How the Euro for Health programs, exactly as Horizon Europe, there will be annual work programs that will launch new call for proposals. So the Euro for Health program has been launched as well on the 1st of January, and we are still waiting the annual work program to understand what will be the call for proposal that will be launched in the next year. Just to recap some key principles on Horizon Europe, and then we move to the second part of the presentation. So your proposed work must be within the scope of the work program topic. You need to demonstrate that your idea is ambitious and goes beyond the state of the art. Your scientific methodology must take into account interdisciplinary, gender dimension, and open science practices. You should show how your project could contribute to the outcomes and the impact described in the work program. And you should describe the plan measure to maximize the impact of your project. And you should demonstrate the quality of your plan, resources, and participants. So tell me if you have questions.
Yes, Laura, I would like to ask how many percentages of projects are refused because of administrative reasons?
Sorry, how many projects have been rejected for?
No, are about rejected for not fulfilling all administrative, let's say, requirements.
I don't know the percentage, because I guess that, I mean, at least in Horizon Europe, most, I mean, I guess it's around 10-12%. It's not very high because, I mean, organizations are really, you know, are becoming more and more experienced in the administrative side. And from an administrative point of view, I can tell you, it can seem that it can, I mean, probably you have the impression that it's complicated, but Horizon Europe is extremely easy from an administrative point of view compared to other maybe national funding sources. I can tell you that, for example, in Italy, I mean, Horizon Europe is extremely easy in terms of administrative tasks, even when you have the project, compared to national grants that requires a lot of documents and a lot of contract. And I mean, Horizon Europe for me, and as was Horizon 2020, from an administrative point of view, is quite easy.
Thank you. It's nice to know. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I proceed with do's and don'ts of grant writing. Is that okay? So I have, okay, I still have some time, so it's okay. Okay, just a quick introduction. This is the Aladdin lamp. So like so many things, it's not what is outside, but what is inside that counts. When we talk about the grant writing, the outside part, so how your application has been designed is very important. But of course, remember that if your project idea is not good, you can have a wonderful application, but it will not be funded anyway. So, and it's important to know that you really needed to understand that grant writing is totally different from academic writing because it's sponsor-centered, meaning that you need really to understand what the funding agency wants. You need to understand what is the context and the rules of the funding agency. And of course, it's future-oriented because you needed to provide information on what you want to do and not on what you have done. And in order to do that, you really need to be clear in what you want to do and have a clear structures to present your project. And of course, you have to use the correct language because you have to be persuasive, because you have to be personal and convey excitement, because you must create really the wow effect. So the reviewer must read your proposal and have to say, wow, this is really a good idea. And of course, there are some specific terminology and that are used in grant writing and sometimes are not used in academic writing. And maybe we will see them afterwards. So first step, as I said, the most important thing is that you define as first thing your project idea. So what is your research question? What are your preliminary results? What will be the impact of your project, and what do you need to carry out your project? So in terms of resources, in terms of staff and equipment and the time that you need. And only once you have a clear idea of what you want to achieve, then you can start looking for grant opportunities. Now, how you can find the funding opportunities. My suggestion is to start from your specific field. So start from your scientific societies, for example, because you can have also a lot of funding sources from there. Maybe you can just start with travel grants, small grants to participate into conferences or to have fellowships, small grants, but start from there. And then you can move to national, region, and local level funding opportunities. In all countries, there are funding opportunities usually by the Ministry of Research or its delegated agency that usually provide funding for basic science and applied science. You can have funding from the Ministry of Health or also from the Foreign Affairs, because some opportunities are given by the international bilateral cooperation with other countries. The Ministry of Economy, for example, at least in Italy, is provided funding for projects with higher technology readiness level. So for projects that are also including the companies and that are, prone to go to the market. And also, regional authorities is providing resources, funding opportunities for research and development projects, especially under the operative programs, for example. And there are also a lot of private opportunities that you can look for, both at national and international level. And usually they are coming from NGOs and philanthropic organizations. I understand that can seem a jungle. So the solution is that you can use some tools that are available on the market. It's possible that your research organization has one or some of them. For example, I just mentioned them here, but there are others. For example, Research Connect is one tool. Pivot is another one, and also Elsevier is another one tool, which is funding institutional. Then there are, of course, a lot of application platforms. Of course, there is the one for EU opportunities, the participant portal. You can also use the NIH portal if you are interested in NIH opportunities. A very good one is Proposal Central, which provide opportunities for philanthropic organizations, which are mainly US based, but are also open to international researchers. And of course, you can also look to onto other foreign government portals. Then there are others possibility. For example, TrialEct is focused on clinical trials. There are several university websites or university that provide newsletters or specific websites for grant opportunities to its researchers. And there are also sometimes some national portals. For example, in Italy, we have Research Italy, which is not very good, I tell you. And also, but in Qatar, for example, we have the portal of the Qatar National Research Agency, which is providing funding, all the funding opportunity in Qatar. Then, in all these funding opportunities jungle, which one you have to choose? Okay, you have to choose the one that fits you best in terms of, you have to look the eligibility condition for, in terms of nationality of the researcher. So check if there are some limitation in citizenship, check the career stage of the researcher that is requested, and also the location, okay, where the research has to be carried out, which is not necessarily linked to the nationality. And also if a partnership is necessary. So are you allowed to apply by yourself, just with one organization, or do you need a consortium, for example? And you also need to check the eligibility condition of the research activities. So for example, check if there are some limitation in terms of are only preclinical, clinical research is funded. There are some indication about the TRL, and check, of course, the budget and the funding condition, okay? But most important, check the chances that you have to get the funding. So check the success rate and previous grantees, and also if you have enough time to prepare the application. Concerning the chance to get funding, I just want to show you, for example, this is the overall success rate in Horizon 2020, sorry. And as you can see, okay, for example, for the Marie Skłodowska-Curie action, the success rate is around 14%. Okay, as you can see, on the basis of the program, okay, of the sub-program of Horizon 2020, the success rate is very, very different. Okay, for example, for the advanced materials sub-programs, the success rate was 30%. So I mean, I would really love to work in the field of advanced materials, because in the field of health, I show you, is health is much lower, is around 10%, is 11%. But even if you look at the Marie Skłodowska-Curie, you can say, okay, well, 14% is good. But then if you look deeper, for example, these are the results of the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Individual Fellowship, which are the ones of the postdoctoral fellowship in Horizon Europe that you have discussed, some of you have discussed this morning. You can see that on the basis of the panel you are applying to, the success rate can be very different. So this is not to, I don't want to discourage you in applying to the to grants, and especially also in Horizon Europe. But you must really understand what is the level, the quality that you are requested. Because if you are working in the life science sector, you know that in order to be funded, the score of your proposal will have to reach the 95 points out of 100. So the excellence is really very, very close. And that's why you really need time, and you really need to study and to focus on how you want to write your proposal. And also this is to provide some insight, for example, on the DRC. You need to understand if your curriculum is good enough to apply for a grant. Because, for example, we have discussed about the ERC starting grant. Formally, for a starting grant, you just need to have a major scientific publication without your PhD supervisor. But actually, this is not enough. These are data about the mean, the average of annual number of papers that the ERC applicants had the year before applying to the ERC grants. As you can see in some sectors, for some panel, the mean of published papers that the researcher had to be funded was very, very high. So 11.2 per year, for example, for the physical engineer 07, for the panel PE07, which is maybe, I mean, you think that you have a good profile, but it's not enough to be funded. So you really needed to check what is the quality level that is requested to your research and also to your CV, to your curriculum. Okay, once you have found the opportunity, you needed to proceed with the second step, which is to understand the context and the rule. So you need to read carefully the call text. You need to read the policy, the strategy documents underpinning the call text. You need to read carefully the evaluation criteria. You need to check previously funded projects to really understand what has been funded before, and to check if you are in line and if you are not duplicating something that has been already funded. And you have to really analyze the application form, and you have to understand the rationale under each section. So do not just start writing, put everything about state of the art, and then you decide what to write. You really need to understand what you have to write and create a clear structure. And okay, sorry, this is just to tell you that, okay, just to tell you that maybe you think that just Horizon Europe has background materials on policy and actions, but actually all the funding opportunities have somehow some information about the goal of the programs, and they have some strategy behind the organization. And these are, for example from the European Federation for Study of Diabetes. They have information about the overall aim of the programs, the funding program, as well as, for example, we have seen, the Alzheimer's Association. Okay. Okay, so first step is then to set a clear structure and use the specific language. Okay, if you needed to, the application form that you have to write is quite simple, maybe you just needed to write a first letter of intent and you don't have a template, then you can use that, then you can try to structure your application with this in these three sections. So first of all, you need to set the stage. So you lay out and describe what is the problem. And you have to get the reviewer interested in the outset that you are describing. You need to specify what is the importance and the need that you want to tackle with the project. You have to summarize the state of the art and also the preliminary result that maybe you have already reached. And you have to describe the technical challenges to solve the problem, okay, and the potential benefits that you will have if the problem is solved. Then you need to state the theme. So you have to describe your solution, and you needed to describe very carefully the concept and try to be credible. You must describe it in detail. You need to provide a solid methodology, and you need to describe what are the fundamental purposes. So what are really the objectives, and you need to describe them very carefully. You need to create a vision. So what is the ambition of your project? You need to describe how your work will advance the field of knowledge, and also try to describe how the world will be when the problem will be solved. So what will be the solution for a disease? How the quality of life of patients or citizens will be improved, for example. And these are usually the content that are requested anyway in the application forms. These are taken from a publication that I will show you at the end, and it is mainly dealt with. I mean, these are, you know, it perfectly fits with NIH proposal, but is actually, I mean, providing information and suggestion on the content of any kind of grant application that you wanna deal with. So in any application, you need to provide a background, an introduction. You need to clearly specify what is the hypothesis you are base your project idea. What are the aims, the objectives of your project? You need to describe the experimental design, the methods and the approach that you're using. Very important, you need to provide information on the pitfalls and the alternative strategies. So what are the risks that you have, I mean, there are some events that may obstacle and may create problems in reaching the results that you want to reach in your project. And if some negative events occur, do you have some strategies to reduce the negative effects of that events? What are the expected outcomes and the future direction of your projects? What is the impact? Why it's innovative? Why your idea is innovative? What is the timeline that you need to reach the objectives? Usually you use a Gantt chart to provide information on the task and the timeline necessary to work on the project. Provide a clear budget with budget justification. Describe very well your CV and the team of your and the overall consortium. Provide information on the facility and infrastructure that you have available. Provide an abstract. Provide the target groups information. These are information on the groups, the population, the stakeholders you are addressing, which you are addressing in your proposal. What are the policy relevance? So how you contribute to reach the policy objectives, the policy goals, and the dissemination activities you want to do. Okay, of course, you have to provide the title. You can give some letter of support and any type of compliance documents that may be requesting, like, for example, some certificate of PhD or something like that, or some institutional letters. These are just some of the key terminologies that are used in Horizon Europe. as said, there are, I mean, in Horizon Europe, at policy level, strategic goals are set up at the policy level. And your project needs to define some specific objectives that needs to contribute to the strategic goal. The objectives must be formulated using this SMART approach. SMART means, I think that you know, maybe specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Specific objectives can be specific, are usually general and specific. I will show you an example afterwards. And based on the objectives, you will define what are the activities that can be grouped in work packages in your project. You will define the milestones, which are control points in the project that can help to monitor the progress. And when the activities will produce research outputs that can be like, for example, scientific publication, software, protocols, any kind of output that you can produce. A deliverable is a report that is sent to the Commission to provide information to ensure that you have actually reached an output, that you have created an output. The results is actually what is generated by the project implementation. So for example, if the research output is a publication, the result is the increase of knowledge. So results are increasing the know-how, new solution adopted, proof of feasibility, new business models adopted. And the results, of course, create some impacts. Actually, they create some outcomes, which are the expected effect in the medium term, meaning immediately after your project. So when the project ends, what are the outcomes that you will have reached? And once the outcomes you have, have been reached, how they contribute to the expected impacts in the long term. And the expected impacts are directly related to the strategic goal that we wanted to reach at the beginning, that we have that were defined at policy level. I hope that this scheme somehow can provide some information. And as I know that it's not that clear, usually here you have an example. For example, we can think that a strategic goal can be reduce the respiratory disease linked to the air pollution. And usually air pollution is determined by, well, not usually, but this is just an hypothesis, by car fuels and highly polluting factory emissions. So what are the objectives of our project? Objectives in our project can be to contribute to improving the air quality in Rome, and this is a general objective. And the specific objectives is to increase the use of eco-friendly public transport at peak traffic times by 30% within 12 months. This is how a SMART of specific objectives can be formulated. So work package activities and work packages can be like, for example, research to improve efficiency of eco-friendly public transport, or develop new traffic model to organize more efficient bus services, organize information campaigns to inform citizens of new improved services and to promote the use of public transport. The research output in this case are then the information campaign, for example, or the publication on the new traffic management model. And the deliverable will be the report of the European Commission on the information campaign organized. The results linked to these activities are the new bus services and traffic management model implemented and the more efficient eco-friendly public transport implemented. The outcomes in this case will be the reduction in private traffic on the roads at peak times thanks to the use of more eco-friendly transport. And this will contribute to decrease the respiratory disease by 2% in the specific area of intervention. So the outcomes is linked to the impact, which is providing inputs on the strategic goal. I hope now it's a little bit clearer. Okay, just some slides and then I will finish. I know that we have reached the timeline. These are just additional information how, if you wanna, these are a checklist that you can use to understand if you have designed the research protocol correctly. And usually this is used if you, in your project, you have to include the clinical research or basic and translational research. I don't enter into detail with this one. I will provide you the link to the materials that you, where you can find all this information. As I said, it's extremely important that you provide some information on the consortium and on the partners that participate in your project. You need to understand what is the contribution of each partner in a project, to understand what is their role, and that they have the good expertise to participate in the project. And I know that you have already discussed that this morning and even in the past presentation. It's extremely important now that multidisciplinary teams are participating in the project, because you really need, to solve complex problems, you really need different expertise. For example, in all the teams, in all the projects now, we are including the biostatistics expertise, for example. You really need to understand what are all the profiles that you need to reach the goal of the project. You can provide biosketch and track records. Okay, you can use on the basis of the application that you are applying for, either the biosketch in the NIH style or the Europass form. And I will move to the final slides, which is the final tips and remarks. So what are the tips on how to write a successful proposal? So first of all, define clearly your project idea and look for the right opportunity. Read carefully the call text, the guidelines, the rules, the background materials, and the evaluation criteria. This is something that sometimes researchers completely forget. You need to understand how your proposal will be assessed. You need to understand what are really the area that are, they are important in the project. Plan your submission in advance and foresee a peer review and a mentor review. So gives your application to senior researcher to understand if, to have their opinion, because it's extremely important. Make the test clear, well structured and fluent. Use a standard and concise English. Plan an index. Use short paragraphs. Point out key messages, and use images. Sometimes, you have to imagine that a reviewer is checking your proposal probably during the evening or in the weekends, and they have to open your application and they see hundreds of words, and really just what they want to see is something that really makes them clear to understand what you want to do. So use images as much as possible, because you really need to make the work easy for a reviewer. Then answer to all the questions indicated in the form, and try to use the keywords that you have in the call text. Then do not assume that the evaluator is a hardcore expert in the field. So avoid too many acronyms. And this is important, because especially when you have in Horizon Europe, for example, you may have panels with different expertise among the reviewers. So one reviewer may be really an expert in your field, but the other ones can be not that expert. So you need to ensure that all of them understand what you want to do. So you must be precise, use the correct words, but do not assume that they understand everything. Explain why your project is original, innovative, timely, and relevant. So why your project has to be funded now. And it's the timely part is important. Highlighting this multidisciplinary aspect of the proposal. demonstrate the project feasibility, provide a risk analysis, so explain very well the pitfalls and the remedies, the alternative strategies to reduce risks. Plan very carefully the resources that you need, so provide a clear budget. And then last, but actually it's the first thing, ask support to your grant office. As first thing, when you want to apply, go to your grant office and ask for support. So this is some sources and references for Horizon Europe. Okay, start from the participant portal, check the standard templates available now. And there is also a link to a very nice webinar that you can, where you can find a lot of information on how to write a successful proposal. And for grant writing, I suggest you this for publication. These are done by an Italian researcher, actually, that moved to US for a period and realized that they didn't, there are no actually up-to-date documents available publicly on how to, on grant writing, and decided to provide some materials which are very useful. I can tell you that we have also followed some trainings done by this researcher, which is Chiara Gabbi, and some of our researchers found her presentation very, very useful, and some of them use these materials to apply for national grants, and they get the funding. So you just really needed to apply to try to understand what is the best application, the best funding opportunities, and I'm sure that you will win somehow. Okay, these are my contacts. I'm available for questions, and of course you are also free to contact me if you will have some questions in the next days.
Thanks a lot for a very, very comprehensive review of available opportunities. I wonder if there are any questions. I know that Daniela wanted us to rejoin in the other room. Is that correct, Daniela?
No.
No.
I will,
Okay.
Yeah, I will conclude it here. But
So
I have a question. I have a question. I would like to ask now, currently in COVID-19 pandemic, what are the general changes in evaluation of deliverables or outputs of projects? Are there any changes, and if yes, which?
Well, actually, current projects have been granted a 6-month delay. So if they have some delays, usually funding agencies, including European Commission, has decided to grant some delays. There have been some delays in launching a new call for proposals. So COVID-19 has impacted somehow in publishing the new funding opportunities, but then in the process of reviewing, nothing has changed in the process. What I can tell you is that there is, for example, the COVID-19 is now usually included in the application form under the risk management section. So something that before 2019, before 2020 was was not considered a risk. Now the pandemics, the emergency is now one of the main risks that is included under the risk management sections.
Okay, thank you very much.
Other questions from the... Don't be scared. I know that maybe, I gave the impression that you are not enough experienced to participate in Horizon Europe, but this is not true. Consider that Horizon Europe is a 7-year funding program, and in 7 years you will advance your knowledge and your experience a lot. So you need to study now to be ready in some years to apply.
Yes, I will have one more question for my early stage researcher. Do you think are young colleagues able to submit these postdoctoral grants only themselves, or it's good to have a lot of support from supervisors and maybe the whole network? What do you think?
For the postdoctoral fellowship, you need to have the support of the supervisor and of the hosting organization, because you anyway, okay, you need, I mean, for the research, for the scientific part, anyway, you need to have the experience of the supervisor to describe very carefully the research plan, in my opinion. And also from a formal point of view, the hosting organization needs to provide information to the young researcher on how they want to organize for example, the financial management of the project. So they really needed to provide some insights on how the project will be handled. And also, as the younger researcher needs to describe how he or she will advance her career, he or she needs to describe very carefully also all the trainings that he will participate in, how the supervision will be organized in the team. So, I mean, there are a lot of parts in the application forms where the supervisor and the hosting organization needs to provide inputs.
Mm-hmm. And for ERC grants, it's already, let's say, more independent position of these postdocs, or CV of supervisors?
In the ERC, the position is more independent, meaning that actually for an ERC, basically, okay, you need to have the letter of an host institution that supports your application. But in principle, once you have your funding, you can move wherever you want in Europe. If another organization is actually deciding to, I mean, wants to host you, you can move. So the application is really based on research. And actually, when and you don't need to provide information about the host organization or the supervisor. So it's really just you and your research. What is a good idea is, for example, for a young researcher, for example, if you pass the first stage of an application, is to try to organize mock interviews for the panel interviews, to do some simulation. So the organization can anyway support the ERC applicant in several ways, but in the application form, it's really the researcher and his own idea.
Thank you very much, Laura. Thank you. So are there any other questions? I think you had some questions previously. You raised a lot of questions. So Jovana, could you please read some questions for Laura? Because we were sending ahead.
Oh, sorry, I've seen that there is a question on the in the chat, which is yeah, what is the most key advantages and disadvantages for non-EU applicants? Well, okay. When you mean non-EU applicants, you mean the researcher or the organization? Because from the citizen point of view, there is no limitation actually in participating. But you need to, I mean, if you are, I don't know, a Chinese applicant and you work for an Italian organization, so there's no discrimination at all. If you mean that if you are an organization based in a non-EU country, it depends on the country. What I can tell you is that hardly a coordinator can be a non-EU member state. Low-income countries, so countries from, I mean, with the low GDPs are welcome in Horizon Europe and they are funded. But for example, if you are a country like China or Brazil or Russia, you can participate in the project, but you are not funded unless it's requested by the call text, for example. In a way, there are also countries like, for example, Switzerland, Israel, and now UK, for example, that have bilateral agreements with the European Commission for Horizon Europe, and they participate as they were EU members. They are considered associated countries. I don't know if I've replied to the question. Second question, how many times do you have to fail in order to win a good grant? It depends on the grant. I mean, I can tell you for Marie Sklodowska co-reaction, for example, as they are available, I mean, each year you have the same work program. So in principle, after 1 or 2 times, usually you are funded because you receive every time very good feedbacks from reviewers. So you have the chance to improve your application. The problem is that for example, when you apply for a call for proposal where you have specific topics, the project idea may be applicable to one topic, but the same idea the same topic will not be available in another call in the next year. So how many times do you have to fail in order to win a good grant? Well, you have to fail a lot of times, but it's part of the game. Anyway, an estimation is provided. I mean, you can have an estimation based on the success rate of the programs. You can use that as estimation, as a proxy, I would say. As prospective graduates from ITN PhD program, what your grant opportunity do we have that we may apply for? Well, actually, okay, so it's from an ITN PhD program. So I would suggest to, as soon as you have the PhD, to start with the Marie Sklodowska postdoctoral program. This is a good start because you really need to strengthen your CV, and try to look for private association, philanthropic organization, and scientific society grants. These are a good start, I would say, and apply to actually other Horizon Europe opportunities only when you have really a strong CV. But this means that you can anyway suggest to your supervisor some other grant opportunities and provide support to them to apply for that. But if you want to be the principal investigator, you really need to find small programs and national programs to really have to really strengthen your CV. Then, to what degree and in what ways should we adjust the research topic that we want to research on the topic, the specific funding opportunity? I would say that you have your project idea. Okay, you can adjust a little bit to fit it in a research topic, but you cannot, build a research idea on the basis of a call text. Okay. The most important thing is that you don't have. I mean, if you have a project idea, an application, and if you want to submit it to a topic that is not really fitting, you don't have to do copy paste. You really needed to redesign completely your project idea, and you needed to tackle really all the goals and the expected impact and the outcomes that are foreseen in the call text. So, how many people apply for grants yearly or per call? What is the likelihood of winning one? Well, this is not. It really depends on the funding on the call. So, it's impossible to give only one rate because you really needed to focus on each single type of program and call, and also per year, because funding per year can be very different, even in Horizon Europe as it was in Horizon 2020. But there is if you go to the Horizon 2020 portal, under the project, on the project section, there is the dashboard. There is a H2020 dashboard, and there you can really check the success rate per each program and per each year. So it's really, there are a lot of information there. Then, is there a must-use terminology or specific outcomes that you grant reviewers look for? Yes. I mean, the new application form for Horizon Europe is also providing at the beginning a glossary, because also at the European level they realized that sometimes the terminology was not clear. So there was a lot of confusion between impact and outcomes. Sometimes researchers do not understand actually what they want. So they really create in the new application form, the glossary, and there is really guidance on how to structure, for example, the impact pathways. So they really guide you in describing how your project contributes to reach the overall global aim of the policy goal of the European Union. Okay, so I guess that this was the last question. Are there, I mean, was it clear? Do you have other information? Do you want other information?
Yes, I think it was excellent. Thank you, Laura, very much. If there are some more questions, please go ahead quickly. Otherwise, we will think that there are no other comments, questions, ideas. Yes, so
Thank
probably
you so much.
no
Yeah,
other
go ahead, Daniela. Sorry.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Laura. I would like just to say that it was excellent, and we will be very happy for staying in touch and for continuous support. If our young researchers and supervisors need something, hopefully they can contact you. Is it fine? Yeah, thank you very much. And I would like to do just a short announcement that tomorrow we will meet at 10 o'clock in the main room for a training school, and then the whole day will be run in breakout rooms and afternoon individual consultations. And at the end of the day, 15 minutes past 4, we will meet again in the main room for conclusion of the whole training school. So thank you very much. I thank to all participants and speakers for today. I think it was very nice day, fruitful, a lot of important information we have to digest little. So, and Laura, thank you once again, because it was great. Yeah, thank you very much for your support.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Have a nice day.